will come and speak to us, or rather show us.
Thank you, my good friend. It's a privilege to be here with you this afternoon. Do you know why they chose me to teach at 4 o'clock? Do you have an idea? So I can keep you awake. That's my number one challenge, is to keep all of you awake, and I need your help. If you look around, if your neighbor is beginning to say amen like this, you can give him a little holy elbow and say, wake up in the name of Jesus. Okay? Well, I'm very excited about being here. This is my 5th time teaching here in Cingapore. And I really enjoyed this nation. It's a treat for us to come to this specific part of the world. And it's also a great opportunity to meet people from 21 different countries. And I'm very happy with this opportunity. And my desire when I start a session is, and I hope that this session will be the best session we've ever had, at least that I ever taught. And the way that I can accomplish that is when you participate, when you join, because I was reading the profiles of all of you, and many of you have a lot of experience. And one of the ways that we learn is not just from faculty, but from each other. So we will have time after every session to have a group conversation. And this is where you really learn a lot. So learn from your friends as much as you can learn from faculty. Okay, are you ready this afternoon? Good. Well, if technology works, we're going to have a wonderful time. There we go. I promised to give you my notes right after we finish, okay? You know why? I have many surprises for you, and I don't want you to read ahead of time, but I want you to write. You have a notepad. I want you to write down everything that's on the screen. I'm going to give it to you. What's not there are the insights, the jokes, everything that we learn here. That's not written. And I tell you, if there's something not written, you should write it down, okay? And then you combine your notes with my notes, and you learn a lot more from that. Okay, so our title today, we're going to talk this main subject, evangelism through audiovisuals. How we can use technology to be an effective tool for evangelism in ministry. This is an exciting subject. We're going to go through a journey in the next 7 days, and I hope you can learn from it as much as I have enjoyed studying this course. Now, how many of you, with the exception of the Brazilians, how many of you have been to Brazil? Ramiro from Colombia. Anybody else? Paris from Guatemala. Anybody else? Okay, well, since you couldn't go to Brazil, Brazil came to you, and I brought something from Brazil, which is chocolate. How many of you like chocolate? Yeah, you guys can... I have to run away from Sonny because I know he loves chocolate. So I want you to just get one and pass it around. You can please get one. And usually you cannot eat in the classroom, but this is a class assignment. I want you to eat. Okay, I want you to open one, and you can eat now. So you can have a little taste of the Brazil and the Brazilian chocolate. And I know you're going to learn a lot more about our country through the 10 outstanding Brazilian participants. With 11, we have a soccer team already. Okay, we can challenge the world. Brazil against the world here. Okay, so just pass it around, and so everybody can get one. And please eat. You can eat now. Okay, good. Let me introduce you a little bit of my family. Sonny already mentioned a little bit. This is my wife Priscilla, and our 2 boys. Felipe is 10 years old, and Davi is 6 years old. And this is Davi's impersonation of a Hawaiian aloha. Okay, and they are all at home praying for me and praying for you. And every time I leave my house, I talk to my wife and to my children. I say, thank you for sharing me with the nations. And this is a privilege, an opportunity to do this. Okay? So they're supporting us, praying for us, interceding for us at this moment. This is our church, our ministry, Agape Community Church is a church we founded 9 years ago in Atibaia. And some years after that, we began dreaming about starting a school. And in 2002, we began this school, which is called the Preparing Generations International School. So anybody who is involved in Christian education, if you'd like to talk to me, I would love to talk to you and share more of what we're doing. We have a dream of planting schools all over Brazil that will really impact the nation. The slogan of our school is Preparing Leaders for the Future. Somebody said, "Oh, you stole that from Haggai Institute." I said, "Yes." Everything you learn here, apply it for your own ministry, and you can do wonderful things. Okay? Great. Let's talk what we're going to study today. But first, I want you to be enthusiastic about this class. It's coming. And be patient as well. This was a footage taken from participants from the last session coming into the audiovisual class. Okay, so I hope this is not your picture on the next session. Great. James, are you ready? You filming? Good. Let me start telling you about this story, the gorilla story. There was a young man who was unemployed in his country, and he began to go from city to city looking for a job. And one day he walked in a small town and went from door to door, from business to business, asking, "Do you have a job? Do you have a job?" And all the business people said, "Sorry, we're full. We don't have any vacancies." And as he was about to leave the city, somebody said, "Hey, why don't you go to the circus? They just arrived yesterday." And so he went there and he talked to the circus manager and says, "I need to work. Please help me." And the circus manager said, "Oh, you're one day too late. We already set up the circus. As a matter of fact, we're going to start the show in about 1 hour." And the manager said, "Listen, I have something for you. Our gorilla, which is one of the main attractions of our circus, died last night because of the cold. But we have a gorilla suit, and we will pay you money for you to dress up as a gorilla. We put you in a cage and you act like a gorilla." And the guy said, "Oh man, I've never done this before in my life." But he was so desperate that he dressed up as a gorilla and went into the cage. Well, they opened the doors and the people began walking in, eating popcorn and cotton balls, and they began looking at this incredible gorilla doing these incredible things. And the gorilla got so carried away that on top of his cage there was a rope. And he began to swing from one side to the other, and he was just like waving to the people, and everybody like, "Incredible, the gorilla." Well, to make things more exciting, next to the gorilla's cage was the lion's cage. And he began to go over the lion's cage and back. And the lion began to reach for him. Well, guess what? Murphy's Law, right? He was right over the lion, and guess what? The rope broke and he fell right on top of the lion. And all of a sudden he forgot he was a gorilla, and he began to scream, "Help!" And then he heard a voice from within the lion that said, "Shut up, you dummy, or we'll lose our jobs." Well, what does this have to do with you? Everything, because some of you, for the first time in your lives, you're going to dress up as gorillas, you're going to learn something new. Sometimes you're going to do things you have never done before in your life. But like the guy in the gorilla story, he survived. And I tell you this, you are going to survive this as well. Tell the person next to you, say, "You're going to survive this class." Good. I'm going to take you on a journey on this next 5 days. Today we're going to study on audiovisual senses awareness. Then tomorrow we'll talk about biblical basis of audiovisuals. How in the world are you going to find biblical support for this? You'll be amazed and surprised. It's a wonderful lecture tomorrow. Then the following day we're going to talk about the rules and the power of visuals. Then the following day, lecture 4, the audio power and the PowerPoint. How many of you have computers? Okay, how many of you have played with PowerPoints? Good. And some of you that haven't, don't worry, I'll teach you how you can do a simple but powerful presentation. Then the 5th lecture, we're going to talk about the phenomenon of Internet. How you can use Internet in your ministry in a very powerful way. And then the 6th class will be a workshop. And that is, we will all sit, and you will come forward to put all of the things you have learned in these 5 first days. You'll actually come and do a presentation. And we will divide you in groups. And it's going to be the audio-visual premiere. You can look in your schedule. It's scheduled for next week. Thursday night, and you will have a time for practice, for rehearsal, for preparation, and we'll have a premiere. It's going to be a combined session, you in session 536, and there's going to be an award, okay, a crystal, beautiful award. All of you are going to get some surprises as well. People come from other places to see you, so it's going to be a great presentation that Cingapore has never seen before. Okay? God help us. All right. The objective of today's session is, first of all, to challenge you to think audio-visually. Second is to create audiovisual senses awareness. Hopefully by the end of this hour, you will be thinking audiovisually and thinking more with your senses. Now we have a huge challenge in a group like this from 21 different countries. And I call this challenge from drums to the internet. There's still nations today that communicate, and some tribes, they communicate with drums. Isn't that true? They go from tribe to tribe. And others, there's no drums, but there's internet, high technology everywhere. Singapore is a high-tech place. I don't know if you've been to some stores. I've seen some of you hitting the shops, Funan Center and Simlin. Well, enjoy this. It's a great challenge. So, if we cover something that you already know, great, you'll learn more. We're going to increase one notch. But I want to challenge you, if you haven't experienced a little bit of technology, hopefully this will help you a lot. Great. Let's learn more through the senses. Let's read this together. The more are used, the more the message is retained and remembered. Okay. The more the senses are used in the communication process, the more the message is retained. Do you care that your message is retained? Remember it. Do you care that people absorb? Do you care if people remember your message? When you preach, when you teach, when you give a lecture, when you talk to people? So the key for this to happen is that we need to use more senses in this communication process. And we'll come back to this later on today. Now, what are the 5 senses? Do you remember? Tell me, what are they? Taste. Usually, taste is the first one that comes. Yeah, I can tell he loves taste. Sight. Touching. Hearing. Smelling. Hey, James, here's one for you. You said taste, there we go. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, do we cover all of them? 4 or 5? Okay, well, you got it. Taste. Usually the hungry people say taste first. Touch, smell, hearing, and sight. Now, there was a study done many years ago by a gentleman called Munzer, and he did a study on this and said how much people learn from the senses. And I ask you this, what do you think you learn from taste, from 0 to 100? Give me a percentage. What do you think? 5%? Who gives more, who gives less? Taste, yeah. Like from a food you eat, something you can remember, you can learn from that, from taste. 15? 20? Maybe a little less. I'll give you this one. 1% learning takes place when you eat. Okay? Some of you are going to do a lot of learning through eating here, huh? Some different food they serve here, don't they? Okay? Sometimes you wait and see if the food is moving, okay? All right, number 2. Touch. How much do you learn from touch? What do you think? You have to really do hands-on to learn things. 5, Abraham? 5, below 5. Okay, very good. 1.5% learning happens through touch. What about smelling? What do you learn from the smells? How much can you learn from that? The same? Okay. That's the one. Maybe I'm going up. Look at that. 3.5%. Okay. It's amazing. Smell is a powerful sense. Now, how much do you learn from hearing? Okay, and hearing is just, for example, let's say we don't have this. Hearing is just somebody standing up, holding on a pulpit, and talking for an hour and a half. How much do you learn from that?
20.
Nobody got it. 50. 50. No. Hold on to your chairs. You ready? 11%. Woohoo! 11% learning takes place from just hearing alone. Now, good mathematicians, how much do you learn from sight? Very good. I got some good. John Paul is ahead of the game. Look at this. 83% of learning takes place from sight. Now, if you put these two together, the hearing and the sight, you have the audio visual, which is 94% learning when you combine audio and visual together. Now, this is why this course was introduced at Haggai Institute. That's why the Institute believes you need to learn about this right in the beginning, along with biblical mandates. So this can help you to do many things. First of all, you know you're going to do a regional country presentation here. How many of you know that? You're going to do it. And we don't want you to bore everybody else to death. We want you to just use as many visuals, as many things to communicate effectively. Also, because you're going to go back home and you can apply this immediately at your work, in your ministry. Isn't that true? Yeah. Everybody can use a doctor, he's a university professor. He can use this, all of this. What else? You can. How many of your friends before you came here were saying, "Oh, can I carry your suitcase?" How many of you had friends that said that? Can I go with you? But you were chosen to come here, not your friends. But you have a responsibility when you go back to your country to teach people about what you learn here. So that's why it's important for you to write down, take the notes, so you can then teach people. Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a teacher.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm teaching is my child is learning only 11% out of.
If you just use your voice, that's correct.
Only 11%.
Yes.
Without an aid, if I teach any lesson here, they receive only 11%.
Exactly. How many are pastors here? Oh, it's the same thing. When I heard this some years ago, I was like, I can't believe it. How many of you have spent hours preparing your messages, in preparing your studies? But if we only use the medium of audio, that's what they will learn, just 11%. Yes, sir.
I think when you also communicate by your body movement, the way you demonstrate, the way you blink your eye, the way you demonstrate your message, I think that should also be cited.
It helps, but it's not enough. And I'll show you why later. Okay? It helps to be body language. That helps a lot. If this is different than being here than just being here talking like this. 100%. Okay? It helps, but we're going to talk about other things. Okay? So let's move on. Okay, look at this. Boy, that made sense. Now, you don't have to do all of that to communicate well, okay? Anyway. Look at this combination, everything that's there on the screen. Take a look. Now, I want you to tell me, what do you understand by this? Okay? But I want the whole thing, not just this. Everything, this composition. What does that tell you?
A picture is stronger than
There is a problem.
Okay. What is your name? Lao. Okay. Say it again.
A picture is stronger than words.
Okay. How many of you have this? Very good. Look at this phrase. One picture is worth more than 1,000 words. Isn't it true? Now, for example, you could go to the email and spend about an hour trying to explain to your wife back home how Singapore is like. Couldn't you? Just spend pages and pages just going, and the food and the people and the buildings and the culture and this and that. And yesterday you learned a little bit about that. And you can describe YWCA, and we're in front of Fort Canning. This is a beautiful place with trees and grass and so on and so on. But then, if you have a digital camera, how many of you have a digital camera? If you have a digital camera, just take one picture and put it in the computer and attach that picture to your wife, and she can see a couple of pictures of Singapore, and she says, "Oh, now I understand." And sometimes we try to use so many words to explain so many things. It would have been much easier to show a picture, an image of what we're talking about. So one picture is worth more than 1,000 words. This is powerful. Now, last year I was flying to Singapore. I was flying through South Africa. And in the airport, I saw this advertisement by Vodacom, which is the largest cellular phone company in South Africa, and I believe in Africa as well. And look at what they were saying. Some pictures are worth 1,000 words. And this is advertising people. Look at what you have here. Here's a father with twins. And here's the hand of a doctor holding a Nokia cellular phone with a little camera taking a picture showing the joy of the father holding the two babies. Now, he could have been on the phone for hours. Listen, the little baby number 1 is like this. Baby number 2, thank God it looks like mommy, right? But instead, one picture is worth 1,000 words. And the people in the advertisement world know this. And they use this effectively. It's time for us to do the same. Let's repeat this with me. Telling is not necessarily teaching. And listening is not necessarily learning. Well, many of us get these things confused. Oh, just because I'm speaking, that doesn't mean that I'm teaching, does it? Or the fact that you are listening, how many of you are listening to me? That doesn't mean that you're learning. You might be listening here, but your mind may be back home thinking about your family, your problems, and this and that. So we have to understand, we're using the same medium, but we're not actually accomplishing the same thing. But we want to teach, we want people to learn. Let's repeat this together. Hearing something 100 times is not as good as seeing it once. How many of you had this experience? And let's say, with the deacon at church, and you tell them, hey guys, I want by next Sunday for you to do something, and this chair is on the way. And you come to a deacon and says, Abraham, please do that. And he says, yes sir, Pastor. And then next week comes by, and guess where the chair is? In the same place. And he says, Abraham, remember I told you about? Oh yes sir, yes sir. It never gets done. Until by the third time or the fourth time, say, Abraham, come here. This is what I want you to do. I want you to move this over here. Do you understand? Oh, now I understand. Because they have to see it once. How many of you have had this experience? You have told people so many times to do something, and you actually have to go yourself, do it, but teach them so they can see you doing it. And that's the whole principle of leadership as well, isn't it? The leader goes ahead, doesn't say go, it says follow me. I'll show you how to do it. It's the same thing. Sometimes people have to see it before they can understand. Look at what Martin Luther said about 500 years ago. The people prefer to see a well-painted what? Picture than to read a well-written book. Martin Luther was a smart man. And 500 years ago, he came up with this phrase. I think he knew about something. And we have to also remember that people today still prefer to see a well-painted picture than to read a well-written book. Nothing against writing books. I love books and we have to have books. But sometimes we want to communicate with too many words. People go to church to see visions, not to hear reasons. Another interesting phrase, and that's also on your notes. Okay. Now, retaining more through the senses. Okay, we talked about the 5 senses, how much you learn from it. Now, let's go, just take the 2 most important, the audio and the visual. And this same study showed how much you can recall, how much you can remember after 3 hours or after 3 days. So let's suppose now, for example, our session, it will end around 5 o'clock. By 3 hours, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tonight, by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, how much of this you will remember just because of audio and visual? How much of this you remember? Today was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, by Saturday. How much of this you remember Saturday night? Okay, let's look at that. If you only heard something, audio only, after 3 hours, how much do you think you will retain, you will remember after 3 hours? Here we go, from 0 to 100. 50? Okay. 30? Okay, let's be a little bit more positive, guys. Okay. 70%. Okay, it's still pretty good if you just hear something. Now, after 3 days, by Saturday night, if you only hear something, a message or something, how much will people remember? Very good, I see. 10%. Now, teachers, pastors coming back to John Paul here, isn't that amazing? That when is your big service in your church? Is it Sunday morning or Sunday evening? Okay, Sunday morning. By Wednesday, people will remember 10% of the message. What is it that they will remember? Tell me. The illustrations? The jokes? Maybe the title? And maybe the verse? The biblical base, the starting verse? The one that uses a trampoline to...
Or the words that has been scolded by the pastor.
The what?
The words that scolded.
The words, yeah. That's it, isn't it true? You ask, as pastors, ask the people in your church, do you remember the message from last week? I know it was good. It was good. Oh, powerful. Okay? Now, that's when just audio is presented. Now, let's bring this to visuals. Now, how much you think people remember after 3 hours of when they see something? Images, drama, videos. Huh?
90%.
Okay. Yeah, a little less, almost. 72% is a little bit higher than the other one. Okay? Now, after 3 days, how much do people remember? More than 50? Come on, John Paul. He's an optimistic teacher here. He says, come on. Look at that. I'll give you that one. 20%. 20% is remember when people see something. It's already twice as much. Now, when you combine these two together, and this is where we want to arrive at this conclusion. When you join audio, people hear something, and at the same time, they see. For example, like we're doing here. You're hearing, but you're also seeing. And we can use many other things, the flip chart, the whiteboard, the overhead, and so many other things. The fact that you're writing, you're seeing it again. When you're going to get your notes, you're going to see it again. Okay, this helps. How much do people remember after 3 hours? Tonight? 80? Very good. 85%. Right on. Have you had this class before, Peter? No? Okay. Very good. 85%. Guys, isn't this amazing? How much you grew? Now, what's interesting is the next one here. After 3 days, how much do people remember after they hear something and see something combined? Who gives more? I want somebody to nail on the spot. Let me see somebody. Somebody very close. Huh? Left.
65.
Very good. 65% retaining happens after 3 days. Now, how does this, look at the difference between 10% or 20%. When they are combined, you get 65% of remembrance. Is this significant to you? I mean, you could say, I can already go home and I know I need to change something. I don't know what to do, but at least I know I need to change something. Yes?
Can I just ask you to comment on the fact of revelation? When we're communicating as pastors, we're not just communicating any word. We're trusting in the Holy Spirit to actually communicate to people. And Paul in the epistles talks about how he constantly prays for people to receive revelation, understanding, wisdom, insight. So that certainly we would teach our pastors that when you finish preaching, that's not the end, because you need to spend time in prayer God before that. I'm not disagreeing with this. I think this is great. I just wonder whether you could comment on that. But that's another dynamic which is part of our spiritual experience.
I think many of us leave the Holy Spirit working too hard. And He does work. And there's this spiritual element that this study, of course, did not cover. But whatever God has given us, the tools, we cannot just depend on somebody else to do the job that He gave us the ability to do better, to be effective and better communicators of the gospel. Yes, we rely on the Holy Spirit 100%. Without Him, we're nothing. However, He has given us the eyes, the hands, the mouth, everything so we can use through Him to really be effective. Thanks for the question. Okay? Well, let's move on. Now that we're awake, let's read this together. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. And this happens all the time. If people just hear, they'll forget. If they see, they will remember. But if they actually do it, they will understand. And this is why at the end of the 5 sessions, the 6th one is the audiovisual premiere. You will actually do it. This is a hands-on experience. You're going to be in front of the class with your group doing a presentation. So there's a lot of learning that takes place when you actually do it. So this is not for you just to write down your notes and then keep it in your shelf for till Jesus comes back. This is for you to actually put it into practice. Okay, and then you really understand the concept. Okay, going back to the 5 senses, what are they? Hearing, sight, seeing, touching, smelling, and taste. Now, ever since I began teaching this course, I was curious and I began to question, is there a connection, is there a relation between the senses? Do we learn in a sequence? And I came up with this concept that I call the sensational progressive concept. Sensational because we're talking about the senses. Okay? It's a progressive concept. Let me give it to you and then we put it to the test. First, it goes like this. The more you hear, the more you want to see. The more you see, the more you want to touch. The more you touch, the more you want to smell. And the more you smell, the more you want to taste. And the more you taste, the more you want. Okay? Now let's put this to a test. Let's imagine you heard about brand new car in your country. Just think of the latest car that it's been released in your country. Let's say the first thing that you actually do is you hear about it, isn't it? Some people say, "Hey, David, have you seen this new car that has come out? It's a Mercedes, it's a Volvo, or whatever." So let's say you are driving. The more you hear, the more you want to see. So you're driving by a car dealer, and then you see the car in front of the car dealer, and you stop the car and you go there, and you ask one of you see the car there. So the more you hear, the more you want to see, and you start looking around, look at the car, and say, "Man, it's beautiful, it's really nice." The more you see, the more you want to touch. Okay, let me go back. The more you want to touch. So you go there, you open the door. "Can I come in?" "Yeah, sure, no problem." And you begin to touch the leather. How many feel the leather? Okay? In the steering wheel, oh, it's soft. The more you touch, the more you want to smell. You go, "Wow, it smells new." How many of you remember the smell of a new car? Yeah, a long time ago. You can buy the smell of the scent of a new car. How many of you did that? Yeah, you put it in the back of a new car. It smells, at least looks old, but it smells new, right? The more you smell, the more you want to taste. And you go to the salesman and says, "Can I go for a test drive?" He says, "Sure, no problem." And you walk in, and you sit, and you drive around, and you go really fast. You test the brakes. Like, how many of you have done test drives of cars? Okay? It's like, man, it's wonderful. And then the more you taste, the more you want. You're going to say, now comes the problem. Okay? But listen, isn't this true? Doesn't this happen? This is why advertising agencies receive millions of dollars or whatever your currency is. So they can develop a strategy that people will learn from the census. That they will actually be exposed in so many ways. The more census are used, the more people are attached to the object or to the product. Now, if you go to little shops here in Singapore, you will be amazed. All the little shops have music. Why? And it's not like, a slow Strauss symphony. It's something. So you get excited about buying something, right? And then sometimes they put a little incense or something so you can smell something good. I remember when we lived for many years in North America, I remember a saleswoman that sold houses. She was a real estate agent. And her number one secret, she told us what she did to sell more houses than everybody else. She would, go ahead. Almost. She would bake a cake in the house and leave the oven open so the smell of the cake will go all over the house. And she would go there an hour before and leave the smell of the cake in the house. As soon as she brings in the people, it smells like good, like home. It's amazing. And she said, with just little cakes, I sold many, many houses. She's using the smell as a powerful sense. Okay? Now let's take this to another step to see with the women as far as dress goes. Anybody shopping for a fur coat? Maybe your wife has requested this. Okay, let's see. One more. This is true with the women. And I taught last year in the women's session. And I was afraid to use this, but I used and I survived. This is the same thing. Let's imagine there's a competition or a new style of clothing by Calvin Klein. And let's say he comes out with this beautiful dress for a new season. He releases this dress in Paris, and later on this dress arrives in your country. So the women, they hear about, this new Calvin Klein dress is in our country. The more you hear, the more you want to see. So she drives by the boutique and she sees the dress there. The more you see, the more you want to touch. So she goes in, she stops, she still has some time for the next appointment. And she touches the dress and says, it's silk. Wow, wonderful. The more you touch, the more you want to smell. It smells wonderful. The more you smell, the more you want to taste. And she says, can I try it on? Sure. She goes into the curtain and closes and comes out and does all the parades. The more she tastes, the more she wants. And the woman said, that's true. They agree with that. There's a difference between the concept of savings for men and for women. You know that? For us men, we can say that we save money. We work very hard. At the end of the month, we have, let's say, $100. And we take that $100 and we put it in the bank. And we say to our wife, honey, we saved ourselves $100. Now, the women are different. They see a dress like this that costs $200, but it's on a promotion for 50% discount. So they buy the dress for $100 and they come home and say, honey, I saved you $100. And you go to the bank account and you look, the $100 is no longer there. She used that to buy the new dress. Isn't that true? Okay. But this happens all the time. Everybody in sales uses this. Why don't we? Why don't we start thinking more how we can use our senses to reach people? Because we have a much better product, don't we? Okay. What I propose to you is for you to develop an evangelism that makes sense. Okay? Using all the senses, evangelism that makes sense to people. Tell the person next to you, says, you have to have evangelism ministry that makes sense. Tell them that. Come on. A good friend of mine who also teaches audiovisuals in Maui sometimes, Don Anderson, he came up with this to call, it's no more evangelism, but evangelism. Think of that. When you see evangelism, if you just change this word, think of evangelism. It makes a difference in how you present it to people. Now, never mistake your inexperience for inability. You're going to say, I've never done this before. That's okay. Because, look at this, your most important ability in God's eyes is your availability. Okay? And that means, are you available? Are you available to let your God use you? To say, God, I want to try something different. I want to use something new. I want to go up like Dr. Tony Chi. I want to go higher to a higher notch. And God is raising up the bar here, raising up the standard. And we are leaders, aren't we, leaders of the 21st century? And we cannot use methods that were used in the 17th century, 18th century, 19th, 20th. You've got to use what's available today. Okay, how can technology be an effective tool for ministry? Now, everything has technology. Do you agree with me? Everything has some technology. Some things are high-tech, some things are medium-tech, some things are low-tech. Now, let's look around in this place and just point to the things and tell me, what do you think? Show me what it is, and let's try to qualify as high-tech, medium-tech, or low-tech. Okay, look around. What is my hands? This is a remote control. I control the laptop from this. This is high-tech, yes. Okay, what else is high-tech here? This guy here. Okay, is this high-tech? Yes. And high dollars too. Okay? That's why it's way up there. High, very high. Okay. The laptop computer is high-tech. The pen drive there, yes. Okay, the OHP, how do you consider this? Yeah. Medium. When it came out, 30 years ago? 20 years ago? It was high-tech. I think the time for OHP has come to an end. Okay. But I talk about it later. How to use. Some people still. It's a very powerful instrument, and I'll show you how to use it on the power of visuals on the third class. Okay, microphone, low tech. This is I'd say medium tech. Okay, there's a lot of technology put into this. Now this guy. Do you see any cables with me here? It's a microphone, medium tech, plus a wireless. This is high. It's a mixture of both. Okay, it's great, and we'll talk about microphones as well. What else? Okay, whiteboards, low tech. There's some technology in putting the pens and this together. Flip charts, low tech, but it's still. By the way, is this flip chart on or off? It's on. Let me turn it off. It's off. Okay. What else do we have here? Have you seen this? CD player, high-tech. Video player, also high-tech. Okay? Anything else that you see here? Sound system, the lights, yes. Lights, medium, sound system, a lot of high-tech on that little square thing there. Now think about back home in your church. What do you have there that is not here that you can also qualify? Drum sets? Low tech. There's some high tech drums. Keyboards. Yeah, there's the keyboard there. Okay. It's still high tech. Trumpet. Low, but there's technology. Electrical guitar is, what do you think? Medium. If you put it on a wireless transmitter, it becomes high. High tech, yeah. So everything has technology. Isn't it amazing? The little drum, yeah. It's a powerful little drum. It makes a lot of noise, doesn't it, for a low-tech guy? Okay. The digital camera, very high-tech. And I'll give you some tips on how to take good photographs, good pictures. Okay? You will come out of here as outstanding photographers. I've seen some of you taking pictures, and I tell you, you have to learn the class. Okay. We're going to do a small group dynamics now. And before we do that, I want you to answer this question, first of all, right there where you are. I want you to write down, take about 2 minutes. I want you to write down how much of your ministry is telling or speaking. In other words, you use the medium of audio. People hear you all the time. How much of your ministry is from 0 to 100 is telling and speaking? Okay. The second question I want you to answer is, how much of your ministry is showing, is visual? Okay. And third, in what ways could your ministry be more effective if you use all the 5 senses? In what ways? I want you to tell me in a practical way how you could be more effective if you use the 5 senses. Okay? I'm going to leave this up, but I want you to look at me. Okay, look at me here. I'm going to count. We're going to divide ourselves into groups. We are 28. Okay. 24? Good. 4 groups of 6. Okay, I'm going to point until 4. Okay? Count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
3, 4.
1,
2, 3,
4. 1. Are you going to be around? Okay. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? Okay. You want to swap with him? Okay. You are. He's a 2. You're a 2. Okay. Now all the number 1s stand up. And take your notepad, at least with you, and I want you to go to that table right over there. All the number 1s. Okay? Okay, all the number 2s, you can get up also. 2s, stand up. Okay, I want you to go make a circle in this area here. Take some chairs there, make a circle. You can go all the 2s. Okay, all the threes, you can get up. Okay. Threes, I want you to go make a circle back there on that side. And 4, get those chairs and make a circle over here. And I want you to answer these questions. Okay? And I have another question for you to answer. Are you listening to me? Here's the 4th question you're going to answer. Here it comes. Did the chocolate add anything of your perception of Brazil? And how? Okay, make the circle. I want you to share with your group your answer for number 1. Everybody, you're listening, group number 1? Are you listening? Okay. Share with the group your findings, how much of your ministry is talking, how much of your ministry is visual. And I want you to give me an average of the group. Okay? The group is maybe 70%, 60%, 50%. And then we're going to share these findings. Okay? Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to call me.
One of the questions you made earlier on was about the fact of learning by doing. Are you going to talk about that sometime? To the equation?
Yeah, I'm going to. Okay, you have 2 more minutes to finish. 2 more minutes.
projectors. Overhead projectors, yes. I think this is number 2. But we use it during the singing.
Okay, one more minute. One more. Please.
2 hours, we have 1 hour worship. We have 40%. And visual can be when you're at in your church and you show a very good thing, something traditional. It's not necessary to get technology.
Okay, guys. 50 more seconds, and you should be finishing up. Okay? Okay, good. Okay. 30 more seconds. Finish it up because we have to finish on time. You can talk about that. Okay, ready? Let's go, everybody. Let's come back to your places. Come as you are. Okay. Okay, group number 1, I'm going to call you from now on. In my session, you're the Matthew group, okay? Don't forget who you are. Tomorrow, you're going to go back in the same group, so don't forget who you are, okay? I would suggest that you make a list of who you are in your group. Mark, second group is Mark, third group is Luke, fourth group is John, okay? Okay, who's the leader of Matthew? I can answer. How much of what's the average of the group of using audio, speaking and telling?
Okay, we consider it to be 75%.
75%. Okay. How much of it is visual?
Visual, we consider between 5 and 10%.
Okay, let's give you the higher number, 10%. Okay. How much, in what way could the senses, if you use all the... Huh? You could improve much more, from 10 to 85%. Okay. How did the chocolate change your perception of Brazil? Huh? 70%, but in what ways? Huh? I know. But...
It makes us to now begin to think of going to Brazil and belong to Brazil and see what's there.
Okay. Brazil is good. What else? Anybody else from his group that can speak? You like the smell? It's a good smell. But what did it tell you? What did it communicate from the country?
Also discovered what the products that comes from Brazil.
Okay, the products. What about the products? Good or bad? Okay. All right, good. Thank you, Matt. Mark Group, who's the... Look, okay. How much of your ministry efforts is audio?
It's 88%.
Okay. How much of it is visual?
12%.
Okay. In what ways using the five senses could improve?
We understood, the ways.
That's okay.
We could communicate better.
Okay, what else?
People would understand better.
Okay.
People would retain more.
Okay.
And respect you more.
Respect you. Okay.
Respect you more. Respect your efforts. That's what
That's good.
people said. And about
The chocolate.
About the chocolate, that Brazil makes good things,
Okay.
and it's a pleasant place. That's a pleasant feeling of the chocolate. It says Brazil is
Friendly.
yeah.
Friendly people.
I was in this group, and my perception about the only Switzerland and US may be chocolate chain today without exaggerate.
Okay.
Yeah, when I eat the chocolate, wow.
Besides football, they can do something else good, huh? Okay. Okay. Very good. We'll get back to this. Luke group.
Audio, visual.
The audio first?
90%.
90. Thank you for being honest.
Sorry. Percentage. 75%.
70%. Okay, here.
Yeah, 75%. 25. We didn't get to the other two questions.
Okay, so tell me about how did the chocolate change your perception? Answer me now on the spot.
It didn't change my
It didn't. And okay, Peter. Okay.
Tourism and attraction.
You want to go there?
Yes.
Say attractive. That always happens, you know. Anybody else from the group that want to add something? You want to? It attracted you to going there.
Actually, we forgot that some of the junctions we had from the website, and this is not in this number.
Okay. Yeah, it's more visual. Yeah. John Group. Who's the leader of John? Who's going to answer? Okay. How much of it is of your audio?
72.
Okay.
We go to 23. And we had in our group 2 teachers, right? They use much more high-tech software than we use.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the 5%.
Okay. You don't talk about the chocolate? Somebody else that not from Brazil. Anybody else from the John group could talk about how did your perception change?
Talking about the 5%.
No. Just here, just the last one. How much did your perception of the country change because of the chocolate?
Okay, it tells me more about the country.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else from John that want to say yes?
Purchasing quality products.
Quality. Okay. What else? Anything else? Okay, this is a good example. This is interesting. Look at this. 75, 88, 75, 72. More or less, everybody on the same. 10, 12, 25, 23. Okay, some are more than others. But definitely, there's a need for this course, isn't it? We're more audio than visual, and we should be able to at least balance these things or increase this part. Of course, there's a lot of room for improvement if we can use all 5 senses. Now, what's interesting is on the last question, on the chocolate, because you ate the chocolate, you said, it's a good product, good things, pleasure, attractive. But look at this. Somebody said they thought that the Brazilians were friendly. Because you gave people a chocolate. Because of the chocolate, they're saying something about you. Isn't that amazing?
That's right.
No, it's not. That's not. It's a class assignment. Now, isn't it amazing? Why don't we give out more things in our church services to our visitors. Did you notice something? When you walked in here in Cingapore, at the airport, when the lady, what did they have it right then? How many of you got one of these candies when you gave your passport? It was for free. You missed if you didn't get it.
Right there was really good feeling.
Right there. What are they associating? Welcome. You know, sweet. You associate arriving to Singapore with a sweet candy, a sweet taste. Right? Isn't that amazing? And why don't we give candies and chocolates to our visitors at our church so they can attach this? I mean, these are some ideas. Yes?
When I came to the airport, I was scared to touch it. In my country, it's the opposite. When you go to the airport, they treat you very bad and they want to take a lot. So when I saw the candy, I was thinking, that's for me. And I didn't touch it.
Yeah? Okay, well, all the airports in the world, they treat you bad. But anyway, in Brazil, it's the same thing. Now, let me close this. Time is up. Tomorrow, bring your Bible. Okay? You don't have to bring, if you want to bring every day, you can. But tomorrow, specifically, bring your Bible. And I want to close with this story. I start with the story. I'm going to close with the story. There was an international competition. They were judging many years ago the best cake in the world. And they brought in all the chefs and the cooks from many hotels and restaurants to New York City. And after several days of cooking and of tasting, they came up with a decision of the best cake in the world. How many of you would like to have been a judge in the competition? Huh? And there's the cake of this French cook, Jean-Pierre. They won this little big award. And let's say there was a waiter with white gloves and golden silverware and the nice porcelain, China porcelain. And he's just beginning to cut the cake and to present here to Mr. Abraham. And as he was cutting and just about to present to him the cake, all of a sudden the door opens and there's a mechanic. After whole days of work, all sweaty and stinky, his hands are full of grease, and he looks at the cake. He's very hungry, and he goes to the cake and puts his hands on the cake. And then all of a sudden the judge says, "Hey man, don't do that. That's for Abraham." And the mechanic, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Here it is. Would you like to eat that cake now?" How many of you would like to eat that greasy, dirty cake? Hey, but it's the best cake in the world. Why don't you want to eat anymore? Why? The presentation, the delivery was ruined, wasn't it? Now, I submit to you that for 2,000 years, God has been winning competitions all over the world, year after year, as the best cake in the world. And He's the one responsible for the ingredients, and they're the best ingredients in the world. But our part is to deliver this cake the best way we can. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're going to spend the next 5 days together. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this beginning. Thank you so much for learning. And I pray that all of us will continue to learn so we can be more effective communicators of the gospel, that we will deliver the best way possible. We thank you for just making the best cake of the world. And we have to take this cake to all over the world. Bless these men now as we have our break and as we continue tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen. Here's the notes. Thank you very much. Have a good break. And we'll see you tomorrow. And remember, you take your things upstairs, right? Appreciate it.
Thank you for the advice. And for the 30th floor, we didn't have it now afternoon tea. The tea is not quite ready yet. It won't be ready until I finish
and making the announcements. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. The announcements are, some of you have been asking me for phone cards. I have a few phone cards if you want. They're $10 each. You must give me the $10 first. Then I give you the card. Not the other way around. No money, no card. No card, no phone call. Then you have angry people everywhere. So if you want, you can pay $12, but I'll give it to you for $10. And tonight, talking about 5 senses, tonight after dinner, we have a session called, what does it say in here, folks? Getting to know you, right? It is assuming that you don't know yourself. So we'll give you an opportunity to get to know you, but come in something that you want to jump into the pool with, sort of not in your tie and suit, but something that you want to jump into the water. There's a pool up there. Okay, so that's what you come in. You will come in up at the pool. We will meet at the pool, wearing your pool costume. This is after dinner, the last session. So we will meet there. All right? You with me? I can see this tremendous surprise on your face. Pool, water, swimming, up there. Yes, okay. And wear clothes to go into the pool. Okay? Right? Thank you very much. Well, go.